I wrote this long Substack. Now I'm doing Sunday Substacks, but I wrote this long Substack and it earned me an interview down in South Jersey. Some guy read it and he liked it a lot, so he wanted to interview me. And it was about rhinos, RINO, Republican in name only. And I'll just start off with a passage that I wrote. It's my own opinion. It's how I see it myself. And it's a pejorative, the term rhino. It's an acronym for Republican in name only. It's a term that's overused, if you ask me, and it's mostly associated with the true Scotsman fallacy, or the no true Scotsman fallacy. That's what my Discord server is almost named after. It's no true statesman. And it's a moving of the goalpost. It's someone's never too good, or they're never described the perfect way. So they're not a true Scotsman, you know. I'm a real Scotsman. You're not a true Scotsman. And that's why it's Republican in name only. I'm a real Republican. You're not a real Republican. But those vetted Republicans will be slandered as rhinos. Like anybody who's in a primary or anybody who calls himself a Republican is going to be slandered as a rhino right away. It's just the day and age that we're in, and on social media, people can just put a comment if they don't like your opinion. They call you a rhino. I've been called rhino. I'm sure you yourself has as well. And in all honesty, I've seen people labeled rhinos that are lifelong voting Republicans, and they donate their money and time to the local, regional, and state levels. So it's really a weird pejorative that is used. But that and Never Trumper in New Jersey, definitely. But Never Trumper and rhino almost go together. And I have 5 people who I will talk about. But what do you think of the term rhino when you hear of it?
Well, it's good to be talking to you tonight. The term rhino is such a, as you said, an overused term. Because nobody knows what a Republican is nowadays. The Republican Party is always have various candidates that have various positions, and we don't know what the Republican Party stands for anymore. The Republican Party accepts everyone. The Republican Party doesn't have any boundaries over what types of policies it wants to represent. It doesn't have there's no brief summary of the GOP. It really depends the luck that you have on which candidate you get after your primary. Um, in a primary, you can have a social liberal, you could have a staunch capitalist, you can have a right wing populist, you can have someone that's America first, you can have a Christian nationalist, you can have someone that is a progressive nationalist. You can have anything in a GOP primary. But as you said, the term that will be flung around during that primary is the term rhino. And for me, a rhino is someone, and I've already described this, the Republican Party is in shambles, but a rhino is someone that doesn't represent the values of the Republican Party. That's what it means to me. And the Republican Party is changing, and the Republican Party is going in 2 different directions. And it doesn't have a staunch foundation, doesn't have a strong foundation, doesn't have a strong base. So the term rhino really means nothing nowadays. Kind of like the term based. Too many people have been using the term, and it loses its value.
It's true.
Um, when a term or a word is overused too much for things that are not necessary for that term to be used for, it loses its value. Um, whether it's, you could think of something like, you can even say America First is sometimes overused, which is why candidates are just saying that they're America First. But their values aren't even America First. Their values are, okay, let's put America first. But let's not forget about our allies around the world. Let's continue to give them money or something like that. No. or America First, well, we need to we need to we need to decrease regulations. All major corporations, let's let's let them run rampant on society. Let's let them impose the laws on society. We don't need the government for that. We could let the companies, we can let the firms do whatever. So the term rhino, it's whatever the Republican Party doesn't stand for. That's basically rhino. Um, what I wish a rhino would be called is someone that does not espouse America First values, um, which I don't know if I'll ever see in my day and age, but it is what it is, right? You've been in the political scene for several years now, and you've probably seen how politics has changed and how the term rhino has changed over those years. Um,
Oh, and I think it changes fast too. Politics, especially in New Jersey, you'll find when you're growing up, New Jersey has a reputation for being very political. And you're like, wait, what? I grew up there. It wasn't really. It's much more fast paced, political. Everybody's in everybody's business. People are slandering one another than other states than you would expect. It's just something I've found. But I sent you a link, and I'm going to bring that up on the podcast. It is the Wikipedia's entry for their first term used of rhino when it was first published. And it brings you to the Big Apple, whatever this blog is. It's an entry from October 24th, 2009. It shows the history of the term. It shows their origin of the rhino, the animal actually itself. It came from Los Angeles in 1994. But I want to go further. If you scroll further down on this article that I'll put in the link description, but you'll see it in the video that I'll put up and display. It goes as far back as 1922. This is in Los Angeles, California. Among Republican senators in the upper chamber is a sprinkling of the radical marplots, Republican in name only. So it's a pejorative. He's overlooking them, saying, up there in the chambers, their chief aim is not to better the country, strengthen the party, or support the administration, but to simply promote their own personal ambitions. As Republicans, they don't belong. They are freaks, not true to name. And this is all the way back from 1922 in Los Angeles, California. Let's go with 1926, just 4 years after, in Hartford, Connecticut, titled Fair Enough. A number of Republican senators are Republican in name only. They are disloyal to President Coolidge. They do not support Republican measures, and they defy the Republican leaders. So, and I can keep going down. Again, the links here. There's plenty of them from 1936, 1950. It really is a travel through the past of how they viewed the term rhino politically. Republicans did, and today it's lost. It's a word. It moves so fast. Words lose meaning. Social media has obscured the way that we communicate with one another. We look at it as a benefit that we can communicate from one side of the world to the other, but at the same time, not seeing those faces, as we've learned through the COVID pandemic with masks, it really does affect the way that we communicate with one another. And of course, technology through Zoom, the live streaming is trying to fix that, but that's just a blast to the past of the term rhino. And, that's some objective facts we have there, but we want to go into our own subjective opinions and maybe some facts of New Jersey rhinos, our own opinions on them, right? And in my Substack, I wrote 5 of which I can talk about, and maybe you want to mention your own. If you want to start, you have someone on the mind of who's a big rhino you want to call out, maybe some opinions you have about them or whatnot. I'll go through the 5 that I have.
so you probably have them on the list, but I'll talk about the
That's fine too.
most well-known, you know, most well-known rhino in New Jersey, actually. It's currently in Congress. Um, Mr. Chris Smith. Um, this is an individual that has shown that he has a horrible voting record for the America First movement. Um, and as I said in my opening monologue, the Republican Party is such a doesn't have a defined set of values that it can defend. It clearly does not. If it did, every candidate would be the exact same. But we do not have that. You look at Chris Smith. He has around a 20% something, 20 something percent voting record. The Republicans for National Renewal, which is a pro-Republican Party organization. So if they're giving such a low record to him, low percentage record because of his voting, just imagine, you know, just imagine his voting record. Just imagine what he's voting for. You know, this is a type of guy that wasn't challenged at all for a seat, except this year. Wasn't challenged at all. This guy was winning elections by 30 points every time. No wonder, no wonder he became that rhino, because nobody was there to challenge him. And he will continue to be a rhino because the people of New Jersey, the people of that district, decided to give him another opportunity to profess his rhino values in the United States Congress. Um, his ability to lie, subvert. I look at him as a South Jersey Rodney Frelinghuysen. Um, if you guys know about Rodney Frelinghuysen, he was a very big never Trumper during Trump's time in the White House, his first 2 years, especially. And then Frelinghuysen retired in 2018, paving the way for Mikey Sherrill and NJ11. But it just shows the power of what a rhino can do. A rhino is a false hope of security in a specific district. A rhino is a false sense of security in a specific governorship. You look at that district, CD 11. You look at Chris Smith's district. It's different in South Jersey. I believe that district is more conservative. But who knows? Who knows what those people would vote for? Would they vote for someone that's more right wing? Would they support someone that is more America First, like Mike Crispy? You know? Um, and that's the problem that we have. Rhino gives that false sense of security. Republicans don't know if they will hold on to that seat if they put a more right-wing candidate. And that's where the term rhino really comes to fruition, because in reality they could be Democrats and still win that seat by those same comfortable margins. But if they were someone that was socially conservative and right-wing populist or America First, maybe they lose that seat. And that's where Chris Smith comes into play. Do I think that seat would go blue? No. But we've seen in the past what can happen. And I don't feel secure that a rhino, that just feeding rhinos, to the general election is a proper way to expand the division of the Republican Party to protect what, more right-wing Republicans would like to vote for.
The one rhino I would probably talk about the most, because again, these rhinos, Republican in name only, they've been Republicans their whole life. They've never voted for Democrats. But they campaign with Democrats and they work with Democrats. One would be John Bramnick, and I'll read a sentence I have here, that while America First patriots navigated the outcome of the 2020 presidential election in battleground states like Pennsylvania, NJ GOP leaders like John Bramnick refused to answer the call for election integrity. And this was right at the end of 2020, so we began 2021, and it was stop the steal. We wanted to audit the vote. And John Bramnick was not about that at all. He was all about 2021 is his time for re-election. And he actually got a promotion. It wasn't even just re-election. And he actually campaigned with Governor Murphy, and he got caught. Only like one or two media publications ran with it. Nobody really called him out. They know that he's a rhino. He's bipartisan, they like to call it. but even his votes go with the Democrats. But it really is just a kicking sand into the face of Republican voters when their leader, he was the minority leader for the assembly, and now I believe he's he's the leader of the Senate for the Republicans, and I think, and it just really kicks sand in the face of New Jersey voters when he's fundraising with other the other side, the people who at the same time he'll call them out and say terrible things about him, but at the same time he's having them over doing comedy hours, and that's another thing. He's a comedian, a literal clown. That's his passion. That's his job. I believe he's a lawyer too. I think that's definitely par for the course. You have to be a lawyer in order to be in the NJGOP. In order to be a real rhino, you got to be a lawyer. But he's a comedian. It's very interesting how this is the leader of the NJGOP. He's a clown, and I can say that without feeling bad about it because that's what he wears on his shirt. He's a comedian. So he's definitely a rhino. We served him and Tom Kane Jr. with affidavits from Audit the Vote, New Jersey. Christine Oden was actually the one who led that, and he ignored us. So he actually violated his oath to the Constitution, specifically the First Amendment of the Constitution, which is that he was submitted with an affidavit, which was a grievance from his people, his constituents, and that they wanted to see that grievance remedied. And he didn't even bring it up to the assembly. He didn't talk about it in public. He didn't respond to anybody. And I don't.
Yeah, he's a clown. But it's actually funny, and we're gonna stay in the New Jersey State Senate. Because I'm gonna go to someone that people look to as a rising star, NJGOP. We've actually talked about him
Yeah, I already know where you're going.
privately. Um, Someone in South Jersey, actually. Um,
Who could it be?
who could it be? A good old friend in NJLD1, presenting South Jersey, conservative South Jersey, very South Jersey. Mike Testa. Mike Testa. Wow, what a guy. No, like, when he actually ran and won 2019, actually, he actually took over for Van Drew. Because Van Drew won the 2018 his race in 2018. And Van Drew, he was a Democrat at that time, and then later on he switched, as we all know. Mike Testa, a guy that would, be a staunch fighter for conservatism, someone that would defend the values, maybe of the unborn, and, stand with New Jerseyans and protect Second Amendment, and, not bend the knee for the left. That was the hope. Um, but we saw something of a divisive rhetoric from Mr. Testa. Um, Rhetoric, basically, that would be very, very weird and unusual. A guy that's supposed to be in the Republican Party. We talked about this. The fact that he goes and marches during the BLM riots that were going on in basically almost every city. The fact that he would march in, so-called peaceful protests in New Jersey with BLM while everything's going on across the country, basically bombings, fires, shootings, killings, all of that stuff, and he doesn't say anything against it, and he supports it. That's rhino. That's a rhino move. Because you weren't elected to do that type of stuff. You weren't elected because of that. No, no, no. Take away your Villanova degree. Take away your Villanova Juris Doctor degree, okay, Doctor of Jurisprudence, and don't do that stupid politician stuff, you know, because we've had enough of that. We've had enough. Um, and really, he said a bunch of stupid stuff as well. You know, there were maybe thoughts that he would maybe run for governor in 2021, but he decided to let Jack Chitterley run. Um, it would have been interesting to see someone else in the NJGOP run and give Chitterley a challenge besides Rizzo and Hirsch Singh. But we'll see what he does in 2025. I hope that he changes his rhetoric a bit. And I wish he becomes more what he campaigned on. That he becomes more of a better individual and not being that rhino and being a true leader in the NJGOP. Um, there's a lot of improvement for him. And hopefully he gets better.
Yeah, I could say a lot. I actually didn't include him in my Rhino and Never Trumper Substack because he's small fish. Um,
He wants to be
and
big fish.
well, he's going to be big fish. He's already on his way.
Yes.
Um, I mean, there's always things to be corrected, and from what he did, I documented it all before. I don't have much to say. It's on my Rumble too. Um, People lie, and if I have facts, I can look it up. If anybody has questions for whatever they're hearing on the podcast, I can find it for you. But for myself, for Mike Testa, the primary, he showed himself as a conservative, took on the Republicans, he won, and then did the bipartisan approach, like you said, the Rhino approach. But he did fight back. He did fight back against Murphy, but the Rhino approach that we were talking about is him securing re-election, securing his movement, securing his people down in the South. He's putting his roots in, and that's why he's going to be here for a while too. But yeah, a Republican that flipped a district in New Jersey, which is ironic because you wouldn't have think a Republican would flip a district in New Jersey. But Tom Kean Jr., I would say he is a rhino, definitely. Just because of the campaigns that he ran, he's not a man of the people. Maybe he is an actual Republican of the establishment, never consent, not being consent of the governed. He's with the elites himself. People ragged on Malininsky so hard they forgot that Tom Kean Jr. is just the same. But he too was served the affidavit for Audit the Vote New Jersey and ignored us the same way John Bramnick did. So before even he was elected to Congress, he violated his oath to the Constitution. I think he was still a senator, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. And his voting record, we had realtomkane.com, which was a website put up by Phil Rizzo, and it showed all the voting record of Tom Kean Jr. while he was in the Senate for, I think, well over 20 years or so. And he's got pro-choice. He's openly pro-choice. Tom Malininsky really smacked him down hard when he made an advertisement during the general election showing Tom Kean Jr. at the, I believe, and I could get the picture up, but I believe it was an Orthodox Jewish event. I think, not sure, but regardless, it was a religious Jewish event, and he was there saying, "I'm pro-choice." That might be weird for people to listen to, but that is an actual connection there with the voting bloc and ideology and social activism, social progress that they have espoused for, being, I'd say, tri-state liberals, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, probably. People also got to understand the news that you're getting on TV is New York news. It's tri-state news. People in the Midwest are not seeing the same stuff that we are seeing. So take that into account when these Republicans come on Fox News, or if someone's on Tucker Carlson, or makes it on to Hannity. Uh, this is New York news. It's New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, basically. So he's a rhino. He I don't have anything good to say about him. He's going to masquerade himself as a conservative. He's already done it with the help of Tom Malinowski. So, and this is probably one of the districts that backfired for the Democrats, that they overplayed their hand too hard in saying that Tom Kaine Jr. is actually really pro-Trump, the same way that they overplayed their hand in 2021 with Jack Ciattarelli saying that he was at the Trump rallies, he was at Stop the Steal, and they did this in order to try and take away votes from these Republicans. The same way Tom Kaine Jr. tried to take away votes. Tom Kaine Jr. is a Trump guy, No, he's not. These guys are not Trump guys. They hate Trump. They hate people who like Trump. They hate me. They hate you. They've showed that. They stay in their house and they don't communicate with us and slander us. I'm not just saying this stuff out of my ass. This happened to us for the last couple of years. Not by Tom Kaine Jr., but his colleagues, people who work for him, people who make anonymous social media accounts. And I do have names of some people that I'm not going to just put out there right now, but all you have to do is pay attention to the primary to know that there were some candidates that were running just to let Tom Kaine Jr. win. Siphon off of votes.
Okay, so this year we had a bill that was introduced in the New Jersey legislature. Maybe you heard about it, maybe you didn't. It was bill in the Senate was known as S214. And this bill has both chambers in the NJ state legislature. Just want to read something that it would do. This legislation establishes firearm registration requirements for new residents in the state and requires such residents to apply for firearm purchaser identification card. This also requires registration statement to be submitted to a law enforcement agency. It also establishes penalties, including criminal charges, for failure to comply with registration. In the NJ state legislature, we did have one Republican that voted yes for it, and we had 5 in the New Jersey State House. And Ryan, you probably know these individuals, but in NJ2 in South Jersey, we have Vincent Palestina, who voted yes. This is one of the districts that actually flipped in 2021. And it's funny because this guy, when it comes to guns, it seems like he has a very bad record. Doesn't vote the Republican way. And he really doesn't care about your Second Amendment rights. In the NJ State House, you have Republicans voting yes for it, 5 of them. You have Michael Teresi Jr. from NJ8. You have Claire Swift from NJ2 as well. You have Kimberly Yulner from NJ11. Marilyn Piperno from NJ11 as well. And Don Guardian for NJ2. So, little question to those people in NJ2 and NJ11. Do you guys not support the second? Do you guys not want your Second Amendment rights? Do you guys not care about that? The infringement upon your amendments? South Jersey, I'm just asking that because I've always heard that South Jersey is more conservative, but we also had 2 other individuals, Eric Simonson, who did not vote. He's from NJ1, and Ronald Dancer from NJ12. He didn't vote as well, so 2 scared individuals in the Republican Party. And even if they did not vote, this is a simple bill. This is really infringing upon the rights of individuals that want to own a firearm in the state of New Jersey. establishing penalties for failure to comply with registration with law enforcement. That is not freedom. That's not the freedom that the founding fathers wanted, and it's not the freedom that the Republican Party states that they want to protect, that they want to uphold. Instead, we have individuals trying to go against party lines, and instead they're voting with the Democrats. Republican in name only.
It truly,
Defined.
truly. And you can't help but see their strategy. You got to be able to line up those dots because it's the same game played over and over. The more that you're paying attention, you'll just see it. That nobody knows what you just said. I don't know. The only thing I can tell you right now is that since I don't know those names, I think maybe except the last name of Swift, all those are newly elected Republicans, probably of 2021. And this means that 2023 will be when they get reelected, or if you primary them out. And people don't even know that they did this vote. So they're hoping that they scoot on by, they skid on by, and nobody notices, no one makes a fuss. That way, when it comes time for re-election in 2023, next year, they will have both the sides of Democrats and Republicans. So all they have to do is get through the primary. That's it. You're good in the general. You're done. You're the incumbent. You're going to get reelected. It's the primary now where you have to defend yourself. This is how the game goes. And it's the same thing with Mike Testa, who we just spoke about before. The primary is almost not even a competition then at that point, because you have Democrats who support you. You have everybody that supports you because you voted for both sides. That's what you're supposed to do as a politician, as an elected official. You're supposed to represent all of your constituents and vote for this party and vote for that party because there's only two parties. You be bipartisan. That's not the way that this system was intended. I'll just say that. But yeah, those names, I don't know them, so they must be new. It's down there in South conservative New Jersey. That's interesting, like you said. And two of those names are Papirno and Yulner. They also voted on, or did not vote on a bill that banned concealed carry in New Jersey. We're just getting that back, concealed carry in New Jersey, where we're going to have it lawfully. And they're preparing a bill to ban it. And all the Democrats voted, and all the Republicans voted no, except some. And Yulner and Papirno are those who didn't vote. And I think Papirno didn't even show up. There's I'm getting these DMs from NJ Politics 1776, New Jersey First, and he's telling me that people aren't even showing up for their vote, and that, well, they have other obligations, and that just gets me so mad. Like that they have other obligations rather than showing up for a vote, no matter how important it could be. The least important bill or the most important bill, you're getting paid $40,000, not even, I don't think, $45,000 to $60,000 or something like that. That's why these rhinos, these assemblymen, don't take their job seriously. They think about their law firm. They think about their portfolio. That's how they're making the money. It's not this $40,000 job where they have to go to Trenton every time there's a bill that comes up and votes for it. God forbid they have to drive an hour because New Jersey's just 3 hours in length. I don't know what's going to change. What's going to change all this stuff. Maybe someone like myself has to get more involved than I am, but that requires for myself to change too. So it's a sacrifice for everyone, but yeah. I have another rhino. Let's see. I don't know. I could go. I'll go with Jose Arango. It's another rhino that I would love to talk about. It's a shame because he's definitely one of those people that have been a Republican ever since he put his foot on America. Ever since he immigrated here, he was a Republican. And that's, you think about today, when if you're going to have legal citizens, I don't even know if he came here legally, to be honest. If you're going to have legal citizens come here, I mean, at least be on our side right from the beginning. I guess that's a good thought. You wouldn't want people coming so the vote goes the other way right away. That's some Gangs of New York stuff, right off the boat into the Union War, into the Union Army. You get a vote. So Jose Arango in Hudson County, he is the boss. He's the political boss. I could talk a lot about Jose Arango, about what he has done to earn the title of Rhino, but the one thing I will say and end on is that he endorsed a Democrat sheriff candidate in 2019. So in 2019, he had a black woman who was running as a Republican to be a sheriff candidate. And the only importance of me stressing the ethnicity of the woman in the political party is that they need that running in Northeast New Jersey and Bergen County and Hudson County and Jersey City. They don't have Republicans running. The Democrat Party in these urban places have a chokehold, a stranglehold on the urban black communities. And he had a qualified sheriff candidate in Hudson County ready to go that was a Republican. And she came out against LGBT. Not in a bad way. She said, hey, why do they get a whole month? Something that you hear basically from every person, because it's a good question, because all these other celebrations we have, they don't get a whole month, things like that. It's just a real question. Why can't we have a LGBT day instead of a month? That's just a question. He said, F that, we're unendorsing her, getting rid of her, and endorsing the Democrat. I'm pretty sure he could have replaced her. He could have endorsed someone else, or he endorsed the Democrat. This is 2019. He's a rhino. I knew I said I would end on it, but right here it says, on top of all this, Jose Arango would routinely remind his constituents that we have extremists in both parties, and the people who are against me are the extremists who were in Washington on January 6th. So he was pontificating on a live stream saying, the people who are against me are the same people down on January 6th. Like, who are you talking to? The Democrats? You're not talking to Republicans on that one, are you? Who are you talking to when you're saying this? You don't represent Republicans, dude. So that's Rhino, Northeast New Jersey. And again, I'm sorry. What's that guy's name? I'll end it there. There's New Jersey young Republicans associated with Jose Arango, and I can name names, but that's for another time.